Guys, welcome back. It is Racer X, and today marks day 6 of the 8 days of Xmas. Yes, a series of 8 straight videos during 8 days, leading all the way up to Christmas Eve. And today should be a fun one. I actually want to talk about my Dodge Charger Hellcat. I actually had to hide in a bay because it is blowing really hard outside. But anyway, we're going to get this one in. I want to talk to you guys today about the obviously the Hellcat and the 5 kind of worst things that I ever did to the Hellcat, or my 5 biggest regrets. And I definitely want to let you guys know about them and maybe perhaps save somebody a little time and aggravation later down the road. Also, guys, if you are new to my channel, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button for me. Also, go ahead and check me out on Instagram, and we are off. We got the 1,000 horsepower Hellcat. Okay, so the first thing on my list, first thing that happened to me that I can think of was I did not check the weather forecast properly one day. So when we're talking about 1,000 horsepower Hellcat, I typically don't run street tires, and I don't daily drive this car. When I first bought it, I did daily drive the Hellcat, and I actually kind of wish that I hadn't done that and put all the miles on it, but this car is capable of doing it. But the thing I regretted actually was one day I went out and I had the ET Street R's on the back of the car, just like you can see here now. I did not check the weather forecast, and it looked sunny, and I got caught out in the rain. And obviously with any sort of drag radials, driving in the rain is really hard to do, and it's pretty darn dangerous. And of course with the ET Street R's on there, it is nearly impossible. And I ended up actually spinning out on 35 here in Fort Worth, and spun actually twice in the middle of the intersection, only going 30 miles an hour. I slowed all the way down to 30 miles an hour, and somebody hit the back end of the car. So I actually had to have this rear bumper piece replaced. They knocked a hole in it, and I was going straight into a wall. Thank goodness I did not hit a wall. But the truth is, if you run drag radials on these cars, you have to be very careful and very diligent about checking the weather. Do not drive in rain and drag radials, guys, if you can help it whatsoever, because I feel really bad about wrecking my Hellcat. Luckily, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, and the damage was not super extensive, but I'm really glad that I, of course, got it fixed. And now, if I'm ever out and it starts to sprinkle just randomly, I actually, I just park the car until it's dry enough and safe enough to drive it. So, big regret, but live and learn. Okay, so the next regret on my list is actually when I used to run the 285 pulley only setup on my Hellcat. This was before I had the Bravo package and the 275 upper, 10% lower, all that good stuff. I actually, I ran the car normally on 93 octane, but when I would go to the racetrack, I would actually run a fuel called Maximal 116. It's a Sunoco product, so it was race fuel, but it was a leaded race fuel. And I did not know it at the time, but when I went to do the Bravo package, we took the injectors out of the car, and the injectors were completely torched. Not only were they discolored, but they were just unusable. And I really regret running leaded race fuel. Not to mention, the car was really inconsistent on that fuel. Ever since I moved over to E85, which is a nice, cool burning fuel, and it runs very clean, the car has been incredibly consistent. But so, you know, I'm so glad that I went away from the race fuel, especially a leaded race fuel. So my recommendation to you is don't run leaded race fuel in your Hellcat. You will regret it. The next thing that I want to talk about is actually on the paint of the car. Yes, I did buy this car brand new in March of 2016, saved up for a long time for this. It was kind of my dream car at the time, and I've been so incredibly happy with this monster. But what I should have done in the very beginning, and I regret not doing this, is I should have had somebody put a ceramic coating on the car. Obviously it's black, so we know black is already hard enough to take care of. But because I didn't do that, now the paint has a lot of kind of swirl marks, and really you especially notice it with black, but really any color. You should always think about maybe doing a ceramic coating on the car, because it protects the car from getting the swirl marks. If the water beads right off of it, it actually is kind of a nice investment if you really want a nice looking car. So now what I've got to do is do a full paint correction on the car. It's not that it's terrible, but when you're meticulous, it kind of drives you nuts. So you got to do a full paint correction and then go back over it with a ceramic coating, and it's really easiest when you do it from day one. So I will not make that mistake again. So the next thing, some of you may actually already know about if you follow my channel or have been following for a while. It actually has to do when I went down to a private track rental down in Houston with my good buddy B. Mason, who's also a YouTuber, and I did a lot of prep work to this car to get that thing ready to go. It had the full Bravo package on it. I was running Ignite race fuel. I had the seats pulled. I mean, the car was literally set on kill. But the one thing that I did not do is upgrade my axles prior to doing that. So I towed the car all the way to Houston. Got the car completely ready to go. The DA was absolutely insane. There could not have been better conditions to run a fantastic number. And on pass number 1, about 3 feet out, I absolutely grenaded one of my axles. And that's so frustrating to drive all that way, then have to leave the car in Houston to get fixed. And I should have had the foresight to kind of just go ahead and replace the axles ahead of time, knowing that I make big power. So yeah, if you're a Hellcat guy and you're making 1,000 horsepower or more, please make sure that you upgrade your axles if you've not done so already, because they are on borrowed time. And had I had aftermarket axles in the car, I felt like the car would have run a ridiculous number down there, and it would have been a fantastic outing. But it kind of went from good or hopeful to this pretty much sucks. So won't make that mistake again either. And that brings me to my final point, or my final sort of regret, if you will, and probably the most important one of all, and that has to do with tuning. So back when I was running a 285 upper pulley on this car, when I first got it tuned, I actually went to a local tuner here in the DFW area that I was used to using. He did a lot of work on my Camaros and my Vets, stuff like that. A very, very good LS tuner. And I was like, hey, I've got this pulley, I need to get my car tuned. And I did that. I went in and I got the car tuned, and the car did not run well at all. As a matter of fact, I was just blowing up spark plugs, and I was having some serious problems, fueling, all sorts of stuff. And it wasn't really until I actually took the car down to Pite's Performance in Houston where I really got the tune dialed in, and the car ran really to its fullest potential. And what that does, that kind of brings up a very interesting point, because it's not necessarily the tuner's fault. He's not really used to tuning Mopars, and these cars can be very finicky. So you have to pick out the right tuner. And there's really not a ton of folks out there that are really good Mopar tuners. It is not the same as tuning on an LS or a Ford. These folks really have to know what they're doing. And especially when it comes to like the transmission tune and all that sort of stuff, get somebody that is very reputable, that knows their crap when it comes to tuning on your Mopar, and you'll be very, very happy. But if you get somebody that's not used to tuning these, it could lead to a litany of issues, which I did experience at first. So what that means, guys, is that I've had my fair share of growing pains with this monster. Yes, I know you see it now, what it is now, as this super consistent, super fast, just really awesome performing machine. It is every bit of that, but it definitely had its growing pains, and but I'm really glad the car is where it is now. And that pretty much summarizes my 5 biggest regrets with my Dodge Charger Hellcat. I absolutely love this car. It is so much fun to drive. It puts a huge smile on my face. But anyway, guys, hopefully I could save a few people out there a little bit of aggravation and just kind of spread a little bit of knowledge. And I've enjoyed doing that today. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for day 7 of the 8 days of Xmas. We are almost to Christmas. Thank you guys for sticking in there with me, and I will catch you on the next one. So until then, Racer X.